Greetings, dreamers, and welcome to Dreaming with Intention, a podcast hosted by yours truly, Mariko Bennett. And today I'm super excited because I am joined by, y'all hear me say this all the time, I'm like one of my favorites. These are my favorite humans, but one of my absolute favorites, my accountability social buddy, Miss Charese John with Revive Catering, Southeast, restaurant group. The list goes on because Charese's going to tell us about all the companies that she owns. But I'm super excited she's joining us. Welcome, Charese.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here, as always, with you, Miss Coco B.
That's right. And I'm supposed to say Charese J. So I know I'm surprised she didn't correct me and say, happy to be here at Charese J.
Charese
but
J.
I
We're
met her.
Get to it. We're gonna get
we
to
are
it.
gonna get into it. We're gonna get into all of it. So
Absolutely.
welcome to the set. We're gonna jump right into our conversation because I know our listeners are eager to learn about you. We shared your bio with them earlier, but let's talk about and settle in on how it all started. Where are you from? What was like your home life like? How did you become the Charese J as we know her? What's the foundation?
Let's get into it, right?
That's right.
So I'm just gonna. I look back on just doing a little bit of preparatoriness for this afternoon. I really look back on 25 to 30 years of the curation of self. You don't realize it when you're going down this journey, but I was born, I'm from Maryland. I'm a Marylander like yourself, Prince George's County like yourself.
Woo woo.
Yes, and but my family had a catering business. But 30 years ago, catering wasn't what it was today. My daddy could cook, and the church pulled him in to do some things, and that was catering. And 30 years ago, we did not know chefs to be who they are now. It wasn't I did a glamorous profession. So I started with the idea after undergraduate school. I started with the idea of what would make me happy. And what would make me happy at the time, and still is how could I get paid to party? How could I literally get paid to party? And I'm gonna just share a quick story with you, which is my first job out of college. I worked for a law firm. I was in Chicago. I was in the process of going to graduate school, and I was doing marketing for a very top tier law firm on downtown Chicago. And I worked on a top floor with all the partners. And this one gentleman, again, out of the 10 partners in the firm, came out every single day, just schlumping. And so one day he got me on a good day, and I said, I need to know why. You make all this money. I probably was 24 years old. You make all this money. Tell me why you're not happy. And he said, Charese, just do something that you love to do. From that point on, there was a Bon Appetit magazine on my desk with Chef Marcus Samuelson on it. And I said to myself, I want to meet him and work with him. Then became my journey. That became culinary school. That was going to New York to find him, to figure out how was I going to get in with this Black Michelin star chef. Because again, we were not represented in print at that time. We were not represented where I knew any other chef that I could call and say, hey, look at me. I want to do this too. So I kind of ditched graduate school, went to culinary school, and that began the journey of being happy and partying for a living.
So that's how we started the journey, right? So you had this vision, you saw this magazine, you were like, whoa, I'm trying to do this. I want to, party for a living. I want to throw fabulous events, which, by the way, whenever I call Charese, I never have to worry about it. And if you know me, you know I'm a perfectionist, and I am worried about it. But whenever I call Charese J, I ain't worried about it. I show up when my guests, about 5 to 10 minutes, I think, this week before my guests arrive, because I know it's going to look absolutely fabulous. And so, talk about, so like you went to school for catering or culinary arts, or? Okay,
I did.
all
I have
right.
a degree in professional cooking and in event management and hotel management. So in addition to a bachelor's degree in business administration and a minor in English, and I was studying business administration in graduate school as well. So it was a professional, like the professional side of things has always been there, but it was just, it was just really pushing through and investing in education so I could show up in the way I needed to show up. And at the time, I did not have the vision of catering. It was, I wanted to be a chef. If I knew I could cook good food, I knew I could host a great party, and I knew people would then gravitate to me, and I would be able to make a living. That's what it looked like at 25 years old.
Okay.
So then family kind of came. I couldn't be in kitchens as I loved to do, and I had the marks, and these are marks of honor. These were burns from this kitchen, and but when I had my son, I couldn't do that anymore. So then what was a way to still be able to do what I love to do? And that became catering. It became private chef that then morphed into the catering side.
So that's how you adapted. So the vision was always like catering and food and culinary arts.
Yes.
Really,
It was
what
the
it
art.
was.
It was
the
the
art. And then, but you were a chef, and then life happened. You had children, and so you adapted to the shift. And the reason I'm walking people through that is because oftentimes you have this vision, you have this dream, and then life happens. How do you adapt? How do you still manifest your dreams and your vision, but adapt to it, right? And so you took the art of being a chef and culinary arts, and now catering, because it allows for you to be able to care for your two beautiful sons, who I know are the joy of her life. And so it allows you to be fully present as a parent, but also as a professional. That's what I'm hearing, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I will say this, the art of understanding and studying food gave the foundation for these other spaces. And I know a lot of the times we look at the full 30 years, you're not typically just doing one thing. There's a lot of previous experiences, and that's professional as well, that prepare you to do this. I worked at corporate. I had a corporate catering job as well. I worked in 2 corporations that, one being a lot of structure and being very formal environment, another being that gave me the level. And I feel like looking back on the Safeways and the Dina DeLucas and professional, they gave me the depth of understanding and the exposure to see the best of the best, to culturally expansive as far as food wise, not just and ingredient wise. So then taking all of that information when it was time to do my own thing, I learned on somebody else's dime. And I always say that's very important. Everybody wants to start out and do your own thing. You learn on somebody else's dime. Please and thank you. So when it's time to invest in you made a couple of mistakes. You don't have to waste your own money. You don't have to waste your own time, as much of it, because going through those cycles are very challenging as well.
Yeah, and I think it's something about, what you just said, and it brings a smile to my face because one, it's patience, right? It's persistence. It's learning, right? So you can show up fully. And it's also understanding structure, right?
Absolutely.
And learning from some of the best of the best.
Absolutely.
You mentioned the Dina DeLucas, the Safeway. So kind of the biggest in the business, and learning their practices, right? And then being able to apply it. I think that oftentimes some entrepreneurs are not necessarily patient in the journey, right? And they were in the process, and folks think that they should know things overnight, and sometimes they don't think that they have to put the years in to perfect the craft. And so I don't want people to see the glory but not understand the story. And I think that, we get lost in the fact that you got this vision and now you actually have to put the work in. Your dreams don't work unless you do, right? And so you just walked us through many years of learning the craft to get to the perfection that you are now.
Absolutely.
Right?
And it's still a growing process. There's a physicality to do what we do in event spaces. There's a physicality that comes with the cooking and the lifting and the preparing. There's a physicalness to it all, but there was a space where I wanted to continue to grow. I went from being chef and family to catering. Then it was just event design. I wanted to see, that was a real business decision to expand the offerings to be able to do more. So that's learning more about a business strategy altogether. There's so many things, as you know, that are in the events. There's the food is only one part of your invoice. How do we make more? How do we do more? How do we expand more? How do you grow your business? How do you grow your brand? And that was, again, studying to show myself approved in these spaces. There was flowers, there was event design, it was linens, it was production.
Staff.
It was staffing, it was management, it was peopling. It was, when I say peopling, I mean peopling, and that's managing your people, inspiring them to want to go with you on your journey with you. So you can't just tell people what to do. They have to believe in you as well.
They do. They 100% have to believe in you. And so I want to talk a little bit about structure, creativity, goal setting, action planning. And these are things that I'm really passionate about. So we have these beautiful dreams and visions, right? How do you actually set goals, right? And you talked a little bit about this, but I want to go a little deeper. And then how do your action steps align with those goals? So you're actually manifesting these visions.
That's a big question. And a good one at that. I feel like for me, it was identifying what I wanted and talking to people on how to get there, because you're physically doing what you're doing and you have to create that next step. Creating the next step then becomes, okay, for me, it was, as you know, I wanted to write. I wanted to be physical. I wanted to shift a little bit away from just the event itself to the conversation. How do I do that? So I talked to people about it. I knew that you had to start writing. You had to start investing in that space. I took a day a week. That was the thing. That was the structure. I took time to do that. I stepped back from work a little bit, meaning the events, and I said no sometimes because I needed to invest in this other time, in this other
Stop being in the work, right, instead of working on it.
Absolutely.
So you had to work on it insteed of being in it.
Absolutely. You had to separate. I needed time. So you're physically busy all the time. And when you have multiple, and I'm sure you know this, when you have multiple industries, you have multiple goals, you have multiple businesses, you have to align time for each and every one of them. You know, one is and it's not necessarily that there's there's 25 to 75, there's 50-50 to it. It doesn't. You have to then be very intentional about that time that you are devoting to this.
Right. So the goal was to start writing.
Yes.
And then the action step that I heard was you took a day off and you started working on the business and not in the business.
Absolutely.
So you see that I've got to go. I want to write. Okay. But I'm in the business. I'm super busy. So I have to, that action step was taking a day to work on it. I want to make sure y'all caught that because I did. Okay.
And thank you for that as well. And I became more intentional again about slower periods of time. So there are months in the summer that I typically take August off. That was a time I designated specifically to writing. There's a time that we now produce a seasonal magazine and a seasonal hosting guide. There's a time in these and right before, maybe 2 months prior to the production of these, that I take off a week or two and just devote that time to those projects specifically. So I became very intentional about the timeline and what I wanted to produce and how I wanted to do that.
Timelines. We talk about timelines, right? Because if you don't have timelines, I don't know how you execute.
You do not.
You do not. That's how you don't. You don't. You just don't. Okay. There's something I want you to explain to us because I love it. VEX, I think I'm saying it right. The visionary experiences.
Yes, the VEX effect.
The VEX effect. All right, talk to us about the VEX effect.
The VEX effect is something that my team kind of came up with. They talked about it before I even identified what it was. You show up differently, Charese. You do. You know, the joke is I do a lot. I like a lot of zhuzhing. It's a lot of sparkle. I call it sparkle dust, and our hosting guide is called Sparkle.
Sparkle dust.
Did y'all catch that? Is kind of what I do, and the simplicity of a bespoke business, which is just it's a British term that talked about luxury, but not in a lower level, but in a very intentional space. So what VEX does is really finding ways to visually enhance what it is that we're doing as far as in the event space. We eat with our hands, our eyes, the experience, the smell, it's a total experience. And so that's what's visionary. There's the food, that's the taste. There's the experience that you have with your customer and your client. All are a part of it, and I'm intentional about what that looks like.
Come on, so VEX effect.
VEX looks like. That's where VEX came from. We were vexing on them sometimes, when you're doing it real good. When we with Coco B, we vex a lot.
Hey, we do get the vex. I love that's right. Coco B Productions vexes a lot.
So it's the opposite of being vexed.
That's
and
right.
Vaccine. Let's be clear.
That's right. The Vex effect. So when I need something special, I'm gonna say I need the Vex effect.
Yeah, definitely. We want to put something on it.
I love it.
We want to put something on it.
So I think that's important. You called it sparkle dust. You know, us creative types, we are always innovating. And we're creative. We're colorful, right? So I always like to tell people I live in color. And I know a lot of creatives, though, that get caught up in being creative, right? And, right?
Yes.
And so, you know, it's like, how do you continue to make sure that you have a structured plan and you're implementing that structured plan while still sparkling dust and being really creative in this event space and in this world where we're creating experiences? Talk a little bit about how you are able to be disciplined enough to execute that structured plan and being a creative.
Well,
Let's change somebody's life.
I am going to take this from Cocoa Bee Productions, and I think I might have learned this from you.
Okay.
It's about partnership. It's who we have in our spaces. Everyone is good at what they do, and it takes a team to do it. So if it was just me, Charese J, walking around, you're not going to get the discipline because I can only have two arms, and two legs. But I know I have my business partner is in accounting. He puts the money together, the money man Mel.
That's right, money.
we'll get it right, keep it right. But it's the timelines, it's the discipline, it's setting goals, it's seasonally. We can set a year plan, a quarterly plan. We talk about what we're going to do, and that he keeps. He's an accountability partner as well as you. You know, things that I share with you as a goal, you follow up with me to ensure that we're doing it, and even using. I want to say, in addition to tools, we use our resources. There are social resources and other resources that we may have so we can stay on task with that. So to answer the question fully, it is partnership. It's internal partnerships and external partnerships. How you work and who you work with, who's on your team, allows you to be accountable for your own dreams and your own goals.
That's right, because teamwork makes the dream work,
Absolutely.
Right? And you said a couple key nuggets. I just want to make sure that the listeners understand that fully. So number one, you said tap into your team, right? And so understanding people's superpowers.
Absolutely.
So that's right. In the book, The Blueprint to Manifest Your Dreams, we talk about number one, what are your superpowers and what do you bring to the table? And then number two, the people you are surrounded by, right? Whether that's your team or your family or your friends, what are their superpowers and how can you tap into their superpowers to help you to manifest your dreams? So you talked about that. You also talked about accountability partners. If it were easy to manifest all of our dreams and goals, they'd already be done.
Absolutely.
Right? And so sometimes you need to tap into other people who have a subject matter expertise that may not be yours. And so I love that. And sometimes you got to barter. Sometimes you can pay them. Other times you got to barter. It just depends on where you are in the journey. So
Absolutely.
I love those nuggets that you just
And I want to
us.
just add one thing when you were sharing that. I got a little spark. And understanding your superpower is a real thing. Because I get really excited. As a creative, I can go on and on and on and on and on. And there's a thing that Melvin, my partner, does. And he's like, he is not as excited about it. Not meaning he doesn't believe in me or not in the dream or the process. He's just like, slow up, let's do this. It's a real check and balance.
That's right.
And it's so important.
In your phases. That's right. Because we can get excited about all the things. But when you're trying to do all the things, it's really...
That's all you got. You have you on one side and you got nothing.
Trying to do all the things is too much.
It's too much.
Taking it, breaking it down, having a plan, having phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and more will get you to where you're trying to go.
Where you're trying
That's
to go.
right. So let's talk about dreaming with intention and living on purpose, right? How do you stay true to your core intentions, adapting to all of the challenges, new trends in the industry, so it's trying to stay relevant. Let's talk about adaptability and why that's so important as an entrepreneur, as someone in the kitchen, and someone in the event space. So you and I, we talk about this all the time, like OMG, day of, in full production mode, what can happen? So, talk about adaptability and recovery. Right, on this journey.
Well, you said a lot there.
I did. I gave a lot.
And there is, let me just say that I just want to talk about the relevance. That was the key that kind of sparked. when you've been doing this 20 plus years, and I can add 10 to that, but 20 plus years is still the same thing without giving that number.
Right. We just say a couple decades.
You have to grow with the industry. You have to grow with the trends. You have to continue to evolve. And you could do what you do well. I make the example of McDonald's all the time. McDonald's clearly has had the most amazing French fries, but they morphed over the years. Your experience with them, sometimes the size, the packaging. Maybe McDonald's wasn't the best example, but because it's the same. But it's not the same, really. But for us, I think that bringing trend, things that you study to your clients, to your service, because it's a heart. And I'll tell you how we do it. It's in my heart. It's my passion. So I am constantly, head to the book, head to the culture, understanding what's going on in these important spaces, whether it be New York, California, Europe, because that's where our trends typically come from in the food and event space, and definitely in the food space, in the design space. You kind of see those things. I'm constantly always striving to see how I can incorporate and not just be inspired, but incorporate that into what I do and how to share that.
So now, do you have any daily practices or routines that help you stay grounded, given we're pulled in all these various directions?
Oh my goodness. I try to start my day in meditation. And the reason why is because as a creative, my head goes a million places. Sometimes I do sleep well at night because I wear myself out. And then I wake up and I have a trillion things to do. So I start to talk about, oh my goodness, there's this, there's the chef, there's the design, there's the flowers, there's, all the things that I could and should be doing. So I start my day in meditation, number one. And then I started again with lists and timelines that I gave myself to accomplish these things.
That's right.
And I can honestly admit that it's an area of growth for me. Because again, when you're passionate about things, I'll be down at Bunny all day long farting around with the flowers. I will fart around with the flowers all day long.
I will tell Charese, leave the flowers alone.
Leave the flowers alone. And you still over there with the flowers. And again, I'll do that. But again, putting, great partners in place with your team, it allows you to check the boxes off. So you could do this amount of time on this, got to check the boxes up because I got to be able to sleep good at night knowing I got through my day, at least.
So I hear that when we're really busy, it's really nice to take a moment to be centered. And we talk about that. We start with crystallization, and that's a centering activity that we do when we go out. It's our first C of our C power of manifestation work. But I also heard a list. And so I have those light bulbs going off all day, right? And a lot of us do, where it's like, I got this idea, I got this idea, I got this idea. So what you said was, I keep a list, because oftentimes really busy people with that list running, that's why we can't sleep. If you heard, she's getting sleep at night. So that is something that I had to learn to do. It was an area of growth. So now I also keep a list. And I also have a notepad by my bed. So when those thoughts are trying to keep me up at night, I just write them down on that list. But the wonderful thing about a list is we get to check the list off.
Absolutely. That is gratification. That is you feel empowered when you're able to do that. My day happened and I started here and I ended here.
That's right.
Guess what? I probably am very aggressive on the list. Now, if I got 2 out of the 5, I'm still feeling good about the list. So
you can go back to the list tomorrow.
Yes,
you don't have to finish it all in a day.
You don't have to fit it all in a day. Some days you're a little more successful than others. But again, the accountability of the things that you want to do, when you see it, it actually gets realized. It makes it real.
It does.
Agreed. Because if you keep it all in your head with everything else in here, you have to put discipline to your work.
That's right.
You have to add a little bit of discipline. And I know, honestly, I will share a little secret with you. When you do what you do well, and I'm really grateful for that, you take advantage of your gift at times. And then that's not adding the discipline piece to it. Clients going to come to me. They're going to call me. Okay. What if they don't? It's a different time right now. COVID happened. The pandemic happened. There's a lot of stuff we can talk about there. But when you don't have the discipline and showing up the way you need to show up to be responsible, the way you need to be responsible for, to manage your money, the way you need to manage it, if you're not doing these things, the gift sprinkles away in the wrong place. So I always say that be responsible to yourself first, to the things that you want and how you want to do them. You got to be responsible to you and your gift.
You got to be responsible to you and your gift and your dreams.
And your dreams.
Be responsible. Okay, so we have to close, but before we do, and this was such a wonderful conversation. Thank you, Charese. It's always a pleasure. Charese and I can sit on the phone and we do hours at a time. But now
that's it. We done.
Right, but we letting y'all listen in. I think that they giving me my time check. But we have one more question, because I always like to leave out with some advice for our listeners, right? And so, what advice would you share on making room for your dreams, your gift, as you call them, on this journey? Like, what's the advice that you want people to walk away? So they heard from Charese J, who is this accomplished, world known, you got magazines, you're in all the cool kids' homes, putting on, giving the Vex effect, okay? It's fabulous, you're fancy, entertaining, you're on news channels, all over this nation.
I love you.
So Charese J wants folks to walk away with what about their dreams, about their intentions. How do they stay? What I'm quiet. You go. It's on you.
Well, I will say this, and this is honestly what happened to me. I wanted something. I wanted to take the work of the entertainment to the events. I wanted to take it to the conversation. I wanted to see people that look like me being able to do this, because again, high level in a lot of the places we named before, we didn't have a lot of representation there. So I was tired of complaining about it. So I wanted to do it, and I had to do it for myself. So I started with, again, writing what I wanted to see. I started designing what I wanted to see. I took time to study what I wanted to see, and I gave myself time to do that. We started with the guide. We started with the first shoot. We started with the first conversation, and then we looked up, and it was a year later. I had a year's worth of content. I went from, and this is my one flex, I went from buying stock photo to being stock photo. Woo! And I had people that work with me. They were like, "Where did you get these photos from?" I said, "We did them." So again, invest in you. When you don't have, they're not giving you a seat at the table. And I know this sounds cliche. Make your seat at the table. I was talking to the young lady earlier. She was like, "It's a lot of work." I said, "Yes, it is, and you're worth it."
Yeah, it's a lot of work, and you are worth it. Your dream is worth it. It is a lot of work, but your dream is worth it. And so that was the piece that you left me with. And so when I think about this manifestation moment of having a podcast, and before we started, it's been a long day, right? But it is a lot of work. But This is the dream, and this dream is worth it. So thank you, Charese J, for dropping all those nuggets.
Thank you.
Spending time with me this afternoon. I appreciate you.
It's always a pleasure.
That's right.
It's always a pleasure.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Cocoa Bee fans.
Yay.